What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode. So today we are going to answer some questions. These will be the questions that people are afraid to ask a fitness edition. And the first one is why I'm training hard but not losing fat. So let's break this down, because training hard has nothing to do with your fat loss phase, because training is building muscle, right? Losing fat is watching out what you put in your mouth. So with that said, it's like you need to, I see a lot of that, the people really focus on training, they go hard, they train a lot, like without even taking rest days. But the most important bit is they don't watch what they put in the mouth, right? So they end up not really changing their physique because their nutrition hasn't changed. All they have added in their lifestyle is just strength training, which is a good thing. But the reason why you're not losing fat is because your food hasn't changed. You need to be in calorie deficit for a certain period of time to see some change, and this is where the most people get it wrong. What is the minimum that I need to see results? Well, it really depends from each individual, either it's a male or female. If you, let's say, do 100% in a gym, you're committed, you train, you follow a good program, well balanced, and focus also on nutrition, you should start seeing the first results depending on your entry level. So let's say if you're a complete beginner, within the first 8 to 12 weeks, you're gonna see a big difference. Like, I'm not talking about bodybuilding big difference, but you're gonna see you put on some size, because as a beginner to put a size on is way easier than someone who's more advanced, right? So it's like the more advanced you get, the less you're gonna see results, like noticeably quickly, right? So it takes years at that point to progress your physique. Does age really make it harder to get in shape? This is actually a really good question, because people think that most of the time it's their metabolism that stops them on getting in a great shape. But the real reason behind it is as if the people are slowing down as they get older. They tend to move less, right? They're naturally gonna lose muscle mass after age of 30, in the next 10 years, 3 to 80%, considering if you don't do any weightlifting. Then binge watching, social events, alcohol intake, it all matters. So if you really struggle to get in shape as you get older, you gotta think this, it's what needs to change in my lifestyle at the moment for me to be able to keep it up. Because remember, as we get older, we slow down naturally. We're gonna do less, right? So we can try to sit more. So you gotta keep up with that lifestyle. Cardio or weights, which is better for fat loss? Quick answer is neither, because to achieve a fat loss, you need to be in a certain calorie deficit for the short long period of time, right? So in this case, cardio will help you to keep that calorie deficit, but if you're not going to do any weightlifting, you're not going to build any muscle, right? So let's talk from physique perspective. You want to build muscle and be in calorie deficit. This is where you're going to see the big difference. Rather than doing just the cardio and being in calorie deficit, you're just going to look soft without muscle mass. So that's the real answer. Is my metabolism broken? To be honest, that's a good question, because a lot of people think it's as soon as their progress doesn't go as they intend, they start to blame things like metabolism, their hormones, etc., being even in their 30s or 40s, right? So you gotta remember this, your metabolism only slows down slightly after age of 60, right? Before that, if you could blame your metabolism for something, there is a deeper issue, right? So it's either your lifestyle, your nutrition, your activity level. So all that matters really. But I'm not saying the hormones won't impact it. So just make sure you do blood test every now and then, so to get checked out. How many days a week should I train? This really varies from each individual. How much time do you have? That's how I normally work with my online clients. I'll leave a link in description. If you are interested, we can have a chat over the call. But it really matters. So let's say for someone who have a kids, busy lifestyle, social events, and he can only commit twice a week training. So you only should train twice a week with good programming, right? So for someone who has a little bit more time, train 3 times a week. That doesn't really matter. What matters is like how much volume and how many times a week you can hit certain muscle group, right? If it's twice a week, you do full body both days. 3 times, you still do full body. If you have 4, 5, 6 times a week to train, then we can break it down within push-pull legs or different sort of upper lower, different splits, but that is the short answer. Do I really need a strict diet to get in shape? Yes and no. Really depends on your calorie expenditure during the day, during the week, right? So it will be easier when you are strict. You know how much you can have consumed and how much you have burned during the day. So it will be easier to stick to, a bit more disciplined. You will know the exact numbers. When you are guessing, eating out a lot, right? There's a lot of criteria which you don't know. Let's say you order a steak, which has been put the butter on top before serving, right? So you only encounter the calories of the steak, not the butter or the sauces, etc. So in short answer, yes, it matters if you're focusing on strict calories, but obviously, personally me, I try to stick to 80-20% rule, which is like 80% of time I will be strict with calories. Usually Monday to Friday, I'll be really good, focus on calorie counting, etc. And on the weekend, I know I'm in a short calorie deficit, so I can go over every now and then. Is it normal to feel lost in gym? The short answer is yes, if you have no structure. If you're a complete beginner, I strongly recommend you find a program, get an online coach. It's not that expensive these days, but if it's still not available for you, there is so much material like out on YouTube and in general on social media, like how to structure your training, so the more structured your training is, the less loss you're gonna feel in gym. Trust me, nobody really cares what you do in gym. So go in and just focus on yourself. Why do some people get results faster than others? So this is very related to the previous question. A lot of people have no structure when they come to gym. So they will come on Monday, do certain exercises. They'll come on Tuesday, do certain exercises. But they don't really neither track the repetitions and the weight, neither the exercises. So every session is something what they feel like doing, which is the biggest problem why they never see results, progress. And this is where someone who has all structured out, sees the progress much quicker, in a short period of time. What's the biggest mistake what people make when they starting out? It's a good question, and a lot of people think that to put on size or put on muscle, they need to consume like over 4,000 calories or like being in such a surplus, which is not the truth. What will happen if you're gonna put on such a high calories? You're just gonna put unnecessary fat, right? With that said, it's like I see a lot of like skinny guys who's got like a little belly. They think they need to do a lot of cardio, which is also not true. They're just lacking the muscle mass. right? So instead of doing the cardio, you should focusing only on strength training and watch out your diet. Alright guys, we have broken down all 10 questions. If you got any extra questions to ask, please leave them in a comment section below, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.